Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Sit down, please. I'd like to speak English today too, to improve my speaking skill. Let's get it started. Today, it is May 17th, 2023. It's on Wednesday and sunny outside. It's getting hotter and hotter recently. Are you prepared for summer? Are you preparing something for summer, such as putting away heater, cleaning air conditioner, and so on? Are you preparing something for summer or nothing? It was very hot during the day yesterday. How hot was it in your area yesterday? In order to maintain health, I try to exercise regularly. In order to maintain health, I exercise every day. But exceed the amount of exercise is not good. Taking a balance is very important. What do you do so as to maintain your health? What do you do as a maintenance of your health? Maintenance. What do you do as a maintenance of your health? What do you do as a maintenance of your health? What can I do as a maintenance for my health? It's no wonder that the machine broke down quick, so quick, so quickly, because there was no maintenance at all. If it had not been for maintenance, the machine would have broken down much earlier. Had it not been for proper maintenance, the machine would have broken down. I got angry since the receptionist of the hotel was in an imperative tone. Are you inclined to be in an imperative tone when you are angry? Are you apt to be in an imperative tone when you are angry? Do you tend to be in an imperative tone when you are angry? Hard working, I believe, is necessary to achieve something great. Hard working, I believe, is imperative in order to achieve something great. Imperative, 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 imperative. Daily effort, hard working, persistency are, I think, imperative in order to achieve something great. Imperative, 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 imperative. Imperative, imperative, imperative. Imperative, imperative. What are the things which are imperative when you live in the country? Because there are some differences between country A and country B. So I'd like to know the things which are imperative to do. Imperative. Food and drinks are imperative to live. Water is imperative to live. Imperative. Internet is imperative in this era, in this generation. Minimum budget is imperative to start something. Minimum budget is necessary, imperative to start something. Imperative, 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 imperative. Hardworking, persistency, curiosity are imperative to achieve breakthrough. I believe that the combination of hardworking, curiosity, and persistency are imperative to achieve breakthrough. None of them cannot be lacked. None of them all of them should be obtained. Any of them cannot be lacked, I believe. I believe that the combination of curiosity, persistency, and hard working are imperative in order to achieve breakthrough. Any one of them cannot be lacked. Any one of them cannot be lacked. Imperative, imperative, imperative subject, compulsory subject, imperative. If only the receptionist was not in an imperative tone, I would have accepted that. If only the boss had not been in an imperative tone, I would have accepted that. If only the staff had not been in an imperative tone, I would have accepted that. I got mad because the receptionist talked in an imperative tone. I saw a customer getting angry at the receptionist for being in an imperative tone. I saw an angry customer for the receptionist being in an imperative tone. I saw a customer being angry at the receptionist for being in an imperative way, imperative tone. In an 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 imperative tone. Some seniors talk in an imperative tone to the subordinates. Some seniors or superiors tend to talk in an imperative tone, in an imperative tone, in an imperative tone, in an imperative tone, in an imperative tone. Some parents can be imperative to their children to do something. Some parents tend to be imperative to their children, like do homeworks, come back by 5 o'clock p.m. and so on. Some parents tend to be imperative to their children, like come home by 5 o'clock p.m., don't play video games before examinations, and so on. Imperative. Teachers also can be imperative to their students. The teacher scolded the student who were late for the school in an imperative tone. I saw a boss scolding an employee for being late for the workplace in an imperative tone. I listened to a boss scolding his subordinate in an imperative tone, 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 imperative, imperative. I saw a boss scolding his subordinate in an imperative tone, in an imperative tone, in an imperative tone. I saw a boss scolding his subordinate in an imperative tone, in an imperative tone, in an imperative tone. I saw a boss scolding his subordinate in an imperative tone. If the passenger hadn't asked me in an imperative way, imperative tone, I would have accepted that. If only the passenger sitting next to me hadn't asked me in an imperative tone, I would have accepted that, accepted the offer. If the passenger sitting next to me hadn't asked me in an imperative way, attitude, tone, I would have accepted the offer. I would have accepted the offer. I would have accepted the request. I would have accepted the request. I would have accepted the request. I would have request. I would have accepted the request. I would have accepted the request. I would have accepted the request. Accepted the request. I would have accepted the request. Accepted the request. Accepted the request. Accepted the request. I would have accepted the request. Accepted the request. I would have accepted the request. I would have accepted the request. Why are you have to be imperative. I got angry because the receptionist was explaining in an imperative tone. I got mad at the receptionist because she was explaining in an imperative tone. I got mad at the receptionist because she was in an imperative tone. In an imperative tone. She was explaining the facilities around the hotel, in and around the hotel, in an imperative tone. In an imperative tone. Staying in a fancy hotel is costly for me, so I usually stay in reasonable hotels. Resigning from a company can be very costly, so many of the employees try to stay in the same company as long as possible. But recently the trend started to collapse. More and more people started to change jobs or become a freelancer and so on. Many more way of living started to be accepted. Costly, costly, costly. Living in urban cities is costly, but the earning from companies or stores or shops will be higher compared to those in countryside. Costly. Everything can be costly. Living cost will be costly, costly, costly. Owning a car is also costly. Owning a car is also costly for the maintenance. Supplying the car with gas, yearly maintenance, and so on. Owning a car is costly, costly. Owning a car is costly for maintenance, supplying the car with gas regularly, and so on. So owning a car is costly. 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 I stayed in the guest house with some coupon. So I stayed in the guest house at almost no cost. At almost no cost. At no cost. I bought the ticket with the coupon, so it was no cost. At no cost. For free. Almost free. For nothing. Mostly. I bought the merchandise with a coupon, so it was at no cost, virtually. In effect, in practice, it was at no cost. 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 Everyone would be surprised if the house were sold at no cost. Everyone would be surprised if the house was sold at no cost. At no cost. Everybody would get surprised if the house was sold at no cost. 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 Everybody would get surprised if the house was sold at no cost. 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 Nothing would be at no cost. Nothing would be at no cost. Water is usually at no cost in Japan, but some countries, water is for a fee. We have to pay. So some tourists coming from foreign countries might be surprised at the water at no cost. Many employees are afraid of failure, so many of them end up not challenging big ones for fear of cost they have to face. Are you brave enough to take a risk? Are you brave enough to run a risk? I think many people are afraid of the failure and the cost they have to pay if they fail. Many people are afraid of the cost they have to pay if they fail. Many people are afraid of the cost that they will have to pay if they fail. Many people, I think, are afraid of the cost they will have to pay if they fail in the challenge, and so on. Cost. Cost. The billionaire tried to obtain the painting at all cost, at any cost, at all cost, at any cost, at all cost, at any cost. The student wanted to enter the university at any cost, at all cost. At all cost, at any cost. Make your dreams come true at all cost. Make your dreams come true at any cost. Follow the rules at any cost, at all costs. There were some employees who went to their cars every day, even when it was raining so heavily, at all costs, at any cost. There were a couple of employees who went to their cars during the lunch break at all cost, at any cost, even during heavy rain. At all costs, at any cost, at all cost, at any cost. There were a couple of employees who used to go to their cars for the lunch break at all cost, at any cost, even during heavy rain. Even in heavy rain. There were a couple of employees who went to their cars during the lunch break at all cost, at any cost, even during heavy rain. Traveling with plane costs me a lot, so I usually take a bus to save money. Although the bus is bigger, I detest the most because I easy to get motion sick. Traveling with a plane domestically is costly for me, so I usually take a bus to save money. Although the bus is the vehicle I don't like the most because I easy to get motion sick from the shaking. Owning a house costs us a lot for the maintenance, such as yearly inspection, and we have to regularly supply the car with gas to be powered, for the car to be powered. How much did it cost? How much did it cost? It cost about 400,000 yen. How much will it cost to go to Hokkaido? It depends, but LCC low-cost carrier is available now, so we can go to Hokkaido from from Tokyo, relatively cheap, right? Recently. Since the fix of my PC was estimated at 200,000 yen, so I decided to buy a new one. No one wanted to shoulder the blame. The CEO of the company shouldered the blame on behalf of the company. Shoulder the blame. The chief executive officer shouldered the blame on behalf of the company. The chief executive officer of the company shouldered the blame on behalf of the company group. During the festival, you can enjoy seeing the festival participants shouldering mikoshi, portable shrine. Shoulder. All of the employees in the department avoided shouldering the blame. Shouldering the blame. Responsibility. Shoulder the blame. Neither you nor I should shoulder the blame because we have nothing to do with the accident. Neither you nor I don't have to shoulder the blame because we have nothing to do with the accident. Neither you nor I don't have to shoulder the blame, responsibility, because as we have nothing to do with the accident. Neither you nor I don't have to shoulder the blame, as we have nothing to do with the accident. Neither you nor I don't have to shoulder the blame, responsibility, for we have nothing to do with the accident. As soon as I got emergency call from my friends, I went to the rescue. As soon as I got a emergency phone call from my friends, I went to their rescue with prepared tools attached, equipped with in my car already. Just in case, some tools for emergency are equipped with in my car. Just for in case, some tools which are needed to treat our injuries and so on are equipped with beforehand in advance in my car. Some ready some treatment goods for our injuries are equipped with in my car beforehand, just in case. So as soon as I got the emergency call from my friends, I could depart my house immediately for their rescue. I went to their rescue. First aid goods are already equipped with in my car. So as soon as I got the emergency call from my friends, I could depart my house immediately without preparation. I just took on the car and headed for the place to their rescue. I went to their rescue. I saw a lovely pet dog, rescuing his owner from drowning on video. I watched a video in which the lovely pet dog was rescuing the owner from drowning. I still remember the very hard practice of the club activity when I was a student. The practice was the hardest training ever I have experienced in my life ever. I think I will not experience harder training more than that from now on, I guess. The practice by the company for preserving greenery was admitted by the government and got the prize for that. The practice done by the company was well assessed, valued by the government. The practices done by the company were well reputed by the government. And since then, many other companies started to imitate the practices to conserve the greenery. Practice. The practice of the club activity when I was a student was so hard. But thanks to that, my both physical and mental strength were trained. Thanks to the hard practice, my both physical and mental strength were trained. The theory might work in theory, but might not work in effect, in practice, in practice, in practice, in effect, in practice, in effect, in fact, in practice, in effect. The requirements are described in the document for the position, but I noticed after entering, those written in the description were fake in practice. The views from the tourist spots are totally different from the ones transmitted from the pictures in practice. The views, scenery from the tourist spots in practice are totally different from those transmitted by the pictures. I thought I would not be able to eat more than 20 plates of sushi, but in practice I could eat more than 30. In practice, in effect. The predicted arrival time of the product was May 28th, but in effect, in practice, it arrived much earlier. The predicted arrival time of the product was around May 28th, but in practice, it arrived much earlier. The product expected to arrive here, predicted to arrive here on May 28th, but actually, in effect, in practice, it arrived much earlier. The product I ordered was expected to arrive here on May 28th. The product I ordered was predicted to arrive here on May 28th, but actually, in effect, in practice, it arrived much far earlier. How often do you practice your violin? How often do I have to practice the piano in order to become a professional? How often do I have to practice the musical instrument in order to become professional? How often and how long do I have to practice the musical instrument to become as professionals as you? How often and how long do I have to practice the musical instrument to become as skillful as you? The society tends to follow the standard practice if the law is not written, if the procedure is not written in the law. Many people tend to follow the standard practice. When we face the event, the first event we experience, we tend to follow the standard practice everyone else does. When we are confronted with the first event, the event we experience for the first time, we tend to follow the standard practice. We tend to follow the standard practice. We tend to follow the standard practice everyone else does. When we are faced with the event or occasion that we experience for the first time, we tend to follow the standard practice everyone else does. Follow the standard practice. Follow the standard practice. My policy is not to follow the standard practice, but deviate from the common sense. To jump higher. To plunge higher. The mission was practiced on schedule. The mission will be postponed given the situation. Given the condition of the weather, the space shuttle launch will be put off until the weather will come back. If the rules are not written in the law, we usually tend to follow the standard practice. We are apt to follow the standard practice. We are inclined to follow the standard practice. 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 I should have learned more practical English vocabularies, which are frequently used in the society, not difficult grammar nor vocabularies. I think studying difficult grammar and memorizing the difficult vocabularies will encourage some students from loving English or other foreign languages. If I could restart my life again, I would try to study with practical vocabularies, grammars, and so on, so that I can use in the society on the spot. Practical English, practical skill. Few subjects I learned at the university were practical at all. Few subjects I learned from the university were practical at all. They were mostly theoretical. But the theoretical way of thinking will be helpful in the society in a way. And when regarding thinking theoretically in the society and so on. So in that meaning, it might be useful, practical. Practical skill. Realistic or optimistic. Practical English, practical conversation, practical technique, practical approach to the problem. Colonizing asteroid might not sound practical right now, but it will be useful in the future, I guess. Practical. Practically. Practically. Working on the spot totally differs from obtaining the knowledge from the textbooks. Practically, working on the spot totally differs from obtaining knowledge from the textbooks. Practically, the difficulty of operating the machine is more difficult than you think. Practically, the queue waiting in front of the castle tower can last up to the gate. Practically. In effect, in practice. Practically. 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 Practically, even with practices, our level can drop, fall, decline, go down. But during in the process of going up and down, our level will go up in the end. I hope so. Our level can go down even with the practice. Practically. The school ground is taken over by upper grade students, practically. So the teachers embarked on cracking down on the problem. Practically. It came to light that the company used to be taken over practically by the antisocial group. Practically. It came to light that the company had been taken over by a violent group. Practically. There are some exceptions of the rules. Practically. There are some exceptions of the rules. Practically. I'm recently getting rid of unwanted things to make space, both mentally and physically. There are many things which I haven't used for a long time, so I decided to get rid of them. I know, I hesitated to throw them away, but at some point in my life, I determined to throw them away because I haven't used them for a long time, and most of them were taking up much space in my house. Although the leather jacket was so expensive when I went to the second-hand shop to sell them, it was not valid at all. So I brought them back, and I will wear them in winter, although they are worn out. They have been worn out. Wearing them in winter would be better than selling them for free at the second-hand store, I think. There were two options in the software. One is with compound fabrics, and the other was with real leather. The real leather, I know, will last longer and looks better, but considering my budget, I bought the cheaper one. I sometimes come across the group of riders, motorbike riders, with leather jacket. I sometimes run into a group of motorbikers with leather jacket. Leather, 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 leather. I sometimes come across a group of motorbike riders, such as Harley, the big motorbike with leather jacket, leather jacket, leather shoes, leather jacket, leather trousers, leather jacket, leather sofa. Leather. I usually wear out everything I buy till the date of the products. I usually use the products I have bought until they are worn out. I usually use the merchandises I have bought until they have been worn out. I usually use the products or merchandises until they are worn out. I usually use the products I have bought until they have been worn out, until they are worn out. My shoes are wearing out, so I have to buy a new one. A new pair of shoes. My sandals, my pair of sandals are wearing out, so I need to buy a new pair of sandals for the beach. Because, you know, walking on the sand is too hot without sandals or shoes. I'm sure some of you must have experienced the same thing, ending up running to the water as quickly as possible, right? I know it is the sand in the summer is too hot, but I sometimes challenge the hotness by running to the water as quickly as possible when I forgot to bring the sandal. Answering the same questions over and over again, time and time again, might wear you out. But it is important to make the customers know by telling the same information over and over again. Explaining the same reasons, answering the same questions over and over again might make you wear out. might wear you out, might exhaust you, but it is important to inform the information to the customers over and over again, time and again, time and time again, to make sure. I usually use the products I buy until they are worn out. I usually wear out products until they got bad for a long time before buying a new one. I wish I could deliver a starting speech as you. I wish I could deliver a starting speech as you. Now that we have the machine automatically stirring the wheat flour, egg, and milk, we don't have to stir it ourselves. And in the meantime, we can save our time working on other things, which is very efficient. Wheat flour, buckwheat flour. Is the soba made from buckwheat flour? Is the soba made from buckwheat flour? bread, I know, as far as I know, the bread is made of wheat flour. Wheat flour. As far as I know, much of the flour is imported from other countries. Wheat flour, buckwheat flour. The machine can automatically stir the mixture of egg, wheat flour, and milk. In the meantime, we can work on other things, which is very efficient, isn't it? I saw the host of the tea ceremony stirring the powdered green tea with a bamboo whisk. Where can I try the tea ceremony? Especially, I'd like to experience stirring powdered green tea with a bamboo whisk. I'd like to stir audiences with my music. I'd like to stir my audiences with my music. I'd like to stir as many audiences as possible with my music. In the manual of the cuisine, it is advised that I have to heat the soup up until it thicks, until it becomes thick, until it becomes thick, until it becomes thick. It is explained in the recipe that I should heat the soup up until it becomes thick. I prefer a thick soup of ramen to a light taste soup of ramen. I prefer a thick soup of ramen to light taste soup of the ramen. Which do you prefer, thick or light taste of soup of ramen? The mattress I bought for the first time was very thin, and I almost fell to the ground, which I felt painful around my body. So this time I have bought a thicker one, thicker one, enough to support my body. I hope it will be comfortable this time, because I have spent twice as much as the previous one. In the recipe, it is explained that I should heat the soup up until it becomes thick. When I went to the country, I was surprised at the size of the hot dog. Of course, I couldn't eat them. I couldn't eat it at once. So, unfortunately, the store, the or shop was located near my hotel. So I brought it back to my hotel first, and divided it into 2 or 3 pieces so that I could eat them later as leftovers. Do you know there are some facilities or entities which accept leftovers from shops, restaurants, and so on? Can I use the leftovers as a ingredient for the plants? Can I use the leftovers as ingredients for the plants in the garden? I was surprised at the size of the hot dog when I bought the one at the shop. I didn't expect the size to be so big. So fortunately my hotel was located near the shop, so I brought the hot dog to my hotel and keep them in my fridge, in my room. Fridge or refrigerator. Fridge or refrigerator. When I went to the store, my favorite coffee I usually buy was sold out, so I bought another one. So I will be patient with the one for now. I hope I can buy the usual regular one when I go there next time. For now, for now, for now, for now, for now, for now, for now. Has been your business going well for now, so far? How is the weather there? It's not raining for now, but according to the weather forecast, it will be rainy soon. It will turn rainy soon. So we are preparing for that. For now, for now. I haven't received the gift from you yet for now. There is nothing wrong with the computer so far, for now. There hasn't been anything wrong. There has been something wrong. There hasn't been wrong with the machine for now. I really wonder how the microwave heats the food up inside. I wonder what's happening inside of the microwave. It's awesome technology, isn't it? I cannot understand why the food or soup is heated up so quickly in the microwave. I cannot understand the technology and the theory of what's happening in the microwave. The theory of heating up food or drinks in the microwave is beyond the reach of my understanding. Beyond the reach of my understanding. Beyond the reach of my understanding. What do you like to do in your spare time? Do you know who laid out the building? The architect laid out the same building. I'm not good at laying out the house or rooms, so I will ask my architect friend to do that. I will have my architect friend do that. I will get my architect friend do that. I will have my architect friend lay out my room. I will get my architect friend lay out my room. With a little of request from me. How dare you could lay out such amount of money on gambling? How dare you lay out such amount of money on gambling? I definitely cannot lay out such amount of money on gambling. I really regret laying out a great deal of money on video games when I was a kid, which was waste of time and money, because I should have studied at that time, in those days. Because the time I spent playing video games cannot come back. We cannot get the time back. So I really regret laying out a lot of money on video games. Of course, the money came from my parents when I was a kid. And to my pittiness, to my sadness, to my disappointment, most of the video games my parents bought are very cheap now. A tenth or a 15th value of the one my parents bought for. A tenth as expensive as the ones my parents bought for. Or less. How dare you could lay out such amount of money on gambling? How dare you could lay out such amount of money on the jewelry? How dare you could lay out such amount of money on the watch? How dare you could lay out such amount of money on the watch? I was planning to go to the foreign country, but on second thought, I cancelled it for fear of the infection. I think many tourists have experienced the same things. I was planning to go to the country during the pandemic, soon after the pandemic. But on second thought, I cancelled it for fear of the infection. I think many tourists experience same things. I think many tourists experienced the same thing. I think many tourists experience the same things. Experience the same things. Experience the same things. Experience the same things. Experience the same experience. Experience the same thing. Experience the same things. Experience the same thing. Experience the same thing. Experience the same things. Experience the same things. Experience the same things. Experienced the same things. Experienced the same things. Experienced the same things. Experience the same things. Experience the same things. The same things. Experience the same things. Experience the same things. Experience the same things. Experience the same things. On second thought. On second thought. On second thought. On second thought. How much money have you set aside? Can I ask? Can I ask how much money you have set aside? You don't have to answer. And can I ask how much money in the bank account you have set aside? Excuse me, can I ask how much money you have set aside in the bank account for a rainy day? There are no merchandises I'd like to buy for now, so I will put them aside. Set them aside. There are nothing I want to buy for now, so I will put them aside. I will set them aside in the bank account. There are nothing I'd like to buy for now, so I put them aside. I will set them aside. I will put them aside. I will set them aside. I will put them aside. I will put them aside. I will set them aside. Some emergency tools, such as flashlight, preserved foods, might be prepared in advance after the pandemic for a rainy day. Some emergency tools, such as flashlight, preserved food, toilet paper, and so on, might be prepared in advance after the pandemic for a rainy day. More and more people might be prepared for emergency after the pandemic. More and more people might be prepared for emergency after the pandemic. Smartphone is very convenient for a rainy day. We can get in touch with someone for help. Smartphone is very convenient, especially for a rainy day. For a rainy day. I took an umbrella with me for a rainy day. For a rainy day. Money is needed for a rainy day. Furoshiki can be something of a decoration on the wall by hanging it on the wall. Some tourists might be enjoying the beautiful design on the furoshiki by hanging it on the wall. Some tourists might be enjoying the beautiful design decorated on the furoshiki by hanging them on the wall. So, for some tourists, furoshiki might be something of a decoration. Coffee is something of a magic to wake me up for me. Coffee is something of a magic to makes me concentrated. Coffee is something of a magic to makes me focused on my duty. Please do not lay the products down on the floor violently because they are fragile. So please carefully lay the products down on the floor because they are fragile, okay? I was seen lying down on the sofa. The pet dog was seen lying down on the sofa from the security camera while the owner was away. The pet dog was seen lying on the sofa during the owner not at home. The pet dog was seen lying on the sofa while the owner was away. I often confuse the vocabulary lay and lie. I often confuse the position of the prefecture between Tottori and Shimane. I often confuse the word curve with curb. I often confuse the word curve and curb. I often confuse the word lie and lay. I often confuse the word lie with 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 lay. The mother laid the baby down on the floor so carefully so that the baby wouldn't cry and get up while she was sleeping. The mother laid the baby down on the floor so carefully so that she wouldn't get up and cry. Please lay your jacket. Please lay your belongings here in the basket and put the conveyor belt. It will be automatically moved to the scanner. Please lay your belongings in the basket and on the conveyor belt. It will be moved to the scanner automatically to inspect what's inside. Please lay your belongings into the basket on the conveyor belt. The staff went to bring the basket for the customers lay the belongings into. Please lay the belongings of yours into the basket. I'm searching for a larger desk so that I can lay many things on. How dare you could lay out such amount of money on gambling? How dare you could lay out such amount of money on gambling? Okay, I will finish speaking here. Thank you for watching. See you next time. See you!